No one needs a close up. My beard suddenly expand in a single
Hello, my
afternoon.
friends. Well,
Sorry. Welcome, Esoteric Lounge. This is the night for a squirrel sniper. Open up the doors. Sorry. I don't know what my beard's doing all of a sudden. Opens up the doors to the lounge. We hang out. We talk stuff. He's got something planned for
opens up
tonight
the doors to the lounge.
that he's very excited about. Hey, Jess. Jess, I was thinking about you today. How are you? I might walk away from the live stream and trim my beard. I'm looking in the camera and I'm thinking, what the heck? What's going on? I'm glad you can make it. So as you can tell by the title, I'm not going to say too much. Again, this is Squirrel Sniper Shell. I'm just here to tonight. I'm the Squirrel Sniper for the Squirrel Sniper. Tonight I moderate the chat. I help point out questions. I might throw in my 2 cents a time or two if I have a 2 cents to throw. Just glad I finally caught this live. Just how are you? How are you? What's going on? Hey, Tiger King. Yep. Okay, Tiger King. I'm a little sleepy. Couple later nights and early mornings, as always. How are you, Tiger King? Mustafa says, thank you for everything. Thank you for everything, Mustafa. I saw you over at Chris's today. I don't think Chris saw me. I said hi a couple of times. Actually, my cat was sick once today. She seems to be doing okay now. Thanks for asking, Tiger King. Sorry, guys. Still trying to move. Any news on that on the home front? And finish my certification. Anyway, I was saying, without giving too much away, Esoteric Lounge, the Truman Show, piercing the lunar veil. Here's all I know. Sniper's take on the Truman Show, which in and of itself is already a fairly esoteric and symbolic. Got drama tomorrow? Is it a show or just a play? Or just is it a show? Or is it rehearsal for something? Or is it a class? I hope you enjoyed my guest. Well, I hope you enjoyed the guest last night. He was a lot of fun and insightful. And then we had Craig. Give me a second. Villarubio. And I pronounced his name correctly 2 or 3 times. And Craig was personally very insightful for me. I got quite a bit out of my conversation. Tomorrow we have a conversation with Mark Anthony Lloyd. You might want to know a bit more about Mark Anthony Lloyd. Well, I'll tell you. Mark Anthony Lloyd is a modern mystic, minister, spiritual teacher, intuitive guide, and devoted teacher of the Course in Miracles. He's known for his grounded wisdom, catalytic prayer, and ability to make God real, relevant, and radically transformational. His work awakens people to the deepest truth of who they are, God's beloved, whole and holy. Do you guys say beloved or beloved? Both are correct. You can't say it wrong unless you say it differently than me, and that means you're just wrong. Whether teaching, coaching, or holding space for healing, Mark's mission rests on unwavering truth. When you heal your relationship with God, everything changes. I was talking with someone today on the phone, well, voice message about that, about healing. This is cause and effect. Yep, Truman Show with Jim Carrey, Tiger King. The deeper mystical meaning behind it, within it. So we think of healing as addressing the symptoms, right? No matter what it is. If you're healing addiction, quit drinking, quit doing drugs, quit gambling, quit watching pornography, quit whatever it is you are addicted to. Sounds easy enough, right? Of course, it doesn't always work with people. Think about New Year's resolution. A resolution is supposed to be a means of healing. I'm going to get in better shape because my body isn't in shape. It needs to be healed. Hey, Shadow. I work for State Corrections Department. We're receiving trains for working feds on checkpoints. Training. We're receiving training for working with feds on checkpoints. Interesting. Yes, we're talking about Jim Carrey. Hey, McGeeza. Happy 7 months, man. I've been thinking about you since you came in and told me. 7 months is a huge deal. So I'm talking a little bit about addiction right now as we're waiting for Squirrel Sniper to come up. I was reading from my guest coming up tomorrow that Mark's mission, that's the guest coming up tomorrow, Mark's mission rests on unwavering truth. When you heal your relationship with God, everything changes. So, of course, Miracles talks about, I like Jim Carrey too, Tiger King. Of course, Miracles talks about cause and effect. We always deal with effects, but we never go to the cause. We think that if I stop the bleeding, if I put a band-aid on it, I'm going to be healed, right? We need to go deeper. The body intuitively knows how to heal when we trust it and when we allow it to do its thing. Shadow says, I don't think Americans fully understand what's happening into the future. Probably not. Hard to predict what's going to happen in the future, right? So to heal your relationship with God and all the addictions, all the health problems, all the issues, all the resolutions takes care of themselves. We got to trust. Mark will be up at 1, tomorrow's Friday, right? 1 o'clock. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope everything's okay with Sniper. So Mark is going to be very interesting to talk to. Oh, let's see. Jim Carrey is an absolute legend. He's my favorite actor. What favorite film? The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is my all-time favorite Jim Carrey movie. I think it's actually the best thing that he's ever done. He might actually agree with it. Jim Carrey talks quite a bit about the same stuff I talk about, Tiger King. Oops. Hey, Kiki. Kiki, how are you? Michael? Michael says, hey there, Yogi. Hey, Lady Sky. Lady Sky, how are you? Lady Sky's doing all right. And she says, how are you, Yogi? I'm doing pretty good. I mentioned that I'm sleepy. Tiger King says, Muffin Challenge, what's happening with it? You and Lady Sky? We decided we are going to throw muffins at each other from 12 paces away. Going to see who's quickest. We each start with a bag of muffins. Obviously, that's a joke because I would never throw a muffin. You give me a bag of muffin, I'm going to eat a bag of muffins. Don't even care what's in them because no one ever puts raisins in a muffin. Hey, Long John. Giza says, I'm so proud of myself, Eric, for getting to this point. The only thing I need to watch out for is relationship. I'm starting to feel well enough for one now, but I know I'm not. But I know I'm not. It gets lonely sometimes. It does get lonely. Um, Use the loneliness. The loneliness is the message. The loneliness is healing. You've earned that loneliness. Use it for doing the deep, deep inner work that's going to make you all the better in a relationship. Think of your previous relationships as you were drinking. Think of all the mistakes that you made. Think about how those mistakes led you to drink even more. Now start healing them. Deep, deep healing, forgiving them. Forgiving the triggers so that when you're in the next wonderful, meaningful relationship that is surely going to happen because you've earned it and you deserve it, you'll be ready for it. You won't have those triggers, or you'll be able to recognize that's a trigger and you'll start smiling. Man, I just hit a trigger and I didn't even go off the rails. I smiled instead. This is your time. This is when you want to nurture that relationship with your higher power using the language of the 12 steps. You want to be quiet. Again, enjoy that loneliness. Hey, Skits. Eating Eric Squirrel when he arrives. Chat, hoping all is well. I'll be in the background listening in. I haven't heard anything from Cypher yet. I just sent him the link. I realized that I didn't send it, and maybe he was waiting for it. Giza says, for 10 years, I've been running away from myself, but I've been getting better at being able to be alone with myself. Just sometimes it feels like a good idea to get in a relationship. Let it happen organically. Because it'll happen when you're ready. But when the triggers is still present, and they still are, but you have every reason to be proud about yourself. We still have excuses. Every time we have an excuse, it means we're vulnerable to our addiction. I deserve to take this drink. I just had my heart broken. I deserve to have this drink. This was a horrible fight. We start to rationalize. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but we want to think about the possibilities of what could happen. And we want to work on those. Everything is meant to be worked with. Longja says first year of the AA program leans heavily on no boyfriend or girlfriend for the first year of sobriety and the least. Hey, Kat. Yes, absolutely, Longja. For good reason. Giza says the relationship caused my last relapse, so I know deep down it's not a great idea at the moment. And the ego is a tricky thing, Magiza. The ego will look for a relationship in order to have the relapse, knowing what's going to happen. That's the insidious nature of the ego, and that's why we got to be ever watchful. Doesn't mean always avoiding relationships. It means just waiting and waiting and waiting. You'll know. You will know. You asked you ask Eric, ladies guy, what's he asking me? Oh, not sure when we'll do the muffin challenge. To be honest with you, Tiger King. I think the really great challenge is how many muffins how many muffins can Lady Sky fix into a extra large size box that she's gonna wrap up and FedEx to my house? And then the second challenge would be how many of Lady Sky's muffins can I eat in a single session? The answer is however many she puts in the box. How's that for a challenge, Lady Sky? Longtree says, Cat, what's up, girl? Did you like that, Cat? Hey, Nino. Michael says, by the way, Yogi, guess what? I hit 2K watch time hours. Awesome. One away from being able to get memberships. I think memberships are going to be a big thing for you, Michael. All right. We can get you there by summertime, Michael. Long just says ego also looks for loopholes of allegedly only being in sexual relationships rather than full commitment. Lady Sky gives me the laugh of agreement. When you laugh, I'm sure she was nodding her head. Sniper is 2 minutes away. Hey, Kat, were you here when I read Mark Anthony Lord, his bio? Michael is excited. Michael, I think you should have merch too. I think you should have merchandise for sure. Hey, this guy says, I got to see you make them, though, Yogi. I think he misspelled eat. I think he meant to say, I got to see you eat them, though, Yogi. Because I can film it. I could have a all muffin, nothing but muffin live stream where I just sit here and eat muffins in front of the camera. How's that sound? I'm in. Tiger King says, get back to my last message, please. What was your last message? Tiger King says, Cat, hi. You okay? I don't see your last message, Tiger King. Hey. Nino, how you been, my friend? Hey guys, if you want to help Michael out, Michael Burkeen, go over to his playlist and do a playlist for him. Hey, this guy said that's why it's a challenge, Yogi. You cooking in your kitchen? It would definitely be a challenge. Just me cooking something different in my kitchen would be a challenge. Long just says hot Yogi with the cat layup. Oh, you like that? What's up? What's up, girl? Thank you. Someone appreciated it. Michael says, I have no idea how to do merch. You'll figure it out. You're good at this stuff, Michael. I think you are a natural YouTuber. Danny says, hey, Danny. Doing the people that hide me, I want to apologize just in case I did something because we are human and we do mistakes. Hey, anyone who hides you, Danny, is out of their mind. Kat agreed with me just the other day. You are the kindest person on all of the YouTubes. You're kind, you're good natured, you're helpful. You're someone that I want to be friends with. You will never, ever He hid from my channel for sure. Tiger King says, Jim Carrey, this king love acting. Oh my God. Well, I'd love to have a conversation with Jim Carrey about non-duality. I think he got a little carried away, to be honest with you. But almost everyone who gets involved initially in non-duality goes through that same phase of there's no one here, there's no Jim Carrey, there's no yogi. Yogi's just a egoic concept appearing in time and space, and time and space doesn't exist. All of which is true, but does it need to be in a normal conversation? Basically, it's a subtle ploy of the ego saying, you don't exist, and now let's let everyone know that you don't exist, so I get recognition for not existing. Tiger King says, Danny, you top guy? I agree, Tiger King. Tiger King says he can cook Lady Sky. You should do a kitchen episode, Tiger King. Break out your laptop. Cat says, Lady Sky, hi. Lady Sky says, seeing a man cook is mind blowing, Yogi. You think so? Gotta admit, I do know my way around a spatula. There he is, guys.
Testing, testing.
Did we pass?
Can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, good. So I'm late. Quite a few things. Cat got next door. Cat gets next door, can't get back from next door. So I have to go around and get him. He's this little cheeky monkey. And I've got foxes out tonight, so the dog might be barking in a little bit, so
Cool.
We shall see. I hope everyone's all right. How's everyone in the chat? Hello, Lady Sky. Who have we got? Danny?
Yep.
Cat? Tiger? Face the Ace? Quite a few. Dawn?
Hey, Ace. I didn't see you come in.
Yeah. Right. Where do we start? Welcome to the lounge, I suppose. Should we just dive straight in?
Yep. It's what James Carroll, Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Best place to start is at the beginning.
Is at the beginning. Look for the rabbit. Well, take your eyes to adjust to the dimness. We don't look at the screen, we look through it. You are here tonight because you felt a persistent, quiet glitch in the fabric of your daily life. It's a subtle, nagging suspicion that the world just isn't wrong. But it's fundamentally artificial. You may notice that the sky is a little too consistent. The news cycles are a little too rehearsed, perhaps. And the people of your peripheral seem to be following a script that you were never really invited to read. Well, tonight we will perform an act of cinematic alchemy. We're going to peel back the coloured wallpapers of 1990s comedy to reveal a leaked blueprint of the human condition. For those with eyes to see, the Truman Show is not just a movie, it's initiation. It's a confession. It's a manual for the soul to escape the material prison. Before we dive into the town of Sea Haven, we must address the fundamental question: why? Why would the powers that be show us the truth in films? Why would the warden show the prisoner the map to the exit? In the deepest corridors of occultic philosophy, there is a concept known as the revelation of the method. This principle suggests that the architects of our social reality are bound by a strange universal law of consent. Hey, Adam. They believe that if they show you what they are going to do, if they place the truth, I didn't think you'd miss it, Shirley. If they place the truth right in front of your eyes, and you choose to ignore it as just a movie, then you have technically consented to your own enslavement. By hiding the truth in plain sight, they absolve themselves of the karmic burden of our own ignorance. They don't hide the truth in a vault. They hide it in the one place they know the modern true man will never look for it: in entertainment. Think deeply about that word, entertain. Etymologically, it comes from the Latin inter, which means among or in between, and tender, which means to hold. To entertain is to hold the mind in between. It is a cognitive vessel designed to capture your consciousness and suspend it in a state of in-betweenness. It keeps you looking from the back at your origin and from looking forward to your destiny. It keeps you right there in a holding cell of the present moment. And what is the medium of this containment? Well, it's celluloid. Look at the architect of that word. Cell of void. A hollow room constructed of light and shadow. When we sit in the darkened theatre, we are not merely watching a story. We are entering a voluntary state of profound hypnosis. We are allowing the foreign entity to project their light into our void. We are sitting in a dark cave, watching the shadows on a wall, exactly like Plato described thousands of years ago in the allegory of the cave. Tonight in the Esoteric Lounge, we are turning off the projector. We're going to stop being the audience, and we're going to start being the decoder. We're going to look down at the town of Sea Haven, not as a charming coastal village, but as the perfect manifestation of Kenoma in Gnosticism. The Kenoma is the religion, is the region of emptiness. It is the maternal universe, the beautiful, shimmering, but hollow imitation of pleroma, the fullness of the divine. Sea Haven is a world where everything is perfect, but nothing is real. It is a place where the sun is a lamp and the ocean is a puddle, designed to convince the divine spark that there is nowhere else to go. We're going to look at Truman Burbank, not as a character played by a certain celebrity, but as the primordial man. He is the true man who has fallen into a deep chemical sleep because he has been fed a steady diet of comfortable, air-conditioned lies. He is the spark of an infinite trap in a 24-hour broadcast. There is a reason this film resonates so deeply with us decades after it's released. It's because on some subconscious level, we recognize that we are all Truman. We all live in a Burbank. We all have our own Meryl distracting us with products. We all have a Christoph in our heads telling us that the world outside is too dangerous to explore. But this is the esoteric truth, that the dome only exists because we believe in it. The bars on the cage are made out of our own habits and our own fears and our own willingness to be entertained. Tonight, we're not just going to identify and analyze a film. We're going to look at the seams of our own skies. We look for the Sirius, the light that falls from the ceiling onto our reality. We are preparing for the moment we reach the edge of the set and realize that the horizon is just a wall of blue paint. Let us walk through the door and into the light of the real world. Now we've established why, we must look at the how. I love our toy pups. We must identify the personalities that manage this prison. To do this, we go to the very peak of the hierarchy. We look at the moon in the film. The creator of Sea Haven is a man called Christoph. He does not live among the people. He sits in a darkened control room located inside the moon, which is a studio. This is the first and the most vital esoteric key in the film. In ancient cosmology, the demiurge, the blind, ignorant creator of the material world, resides in a planetary sphere. The moon is the lowest of all these spheres. The sublunary gate, it's called. Sublunary. It is the station through which souls pass to be preceded, recycled, and sent back down into bodies. By placing Christoph in the moon, the film is telling us that our world is governed by a protected light. This is the demiurge's greatest trick. He provides a simulation of the divinity, a hollow light that looks enough like the truth to keep the Truman from seeking the real sun outside the dome. Just let the dog in. There you go. So, in an esoteric context, we can decode this as cold light. Unlike the sun's golden light giving off heat, moonlight is often viewed in occult circles as a phosphorescent frequency that is distinct and chilling. This supports that the moon isn't a passive mirror, but it's an active signal transmitter, a lunar battery that powers the simulation with a light that mimics reality without the warmth of the true source. But a king is nothing without a court. In Gnosticism, the demiurge is served by the archons. The word archon comes from the Greek archon, which means ruler or magistrate. These are the governors of this matrix. They are the entities that enforce the laws of the demiurge, ensuring that divine spark remains tethered to the material frequency. In the Truman Show, the archons are actors, the producers, and the directors. Look closely how these archons operate. They do not have lives of their own, they have scripts. This is a profound esoteric metaphor. The power of self-determination. These are NPCs, non-player characters in the cosmic drama. These exist only to respond to Truman's awakening by pulling him back to the narrative. Take, for example, the character of Marlon, Truman's best friend. Marlon's name is an etymological nod to Marlon Brando, the great actor. But Marlon's role was more sinister. He is the hand of the demiurge. There is a chilling scene where Christoph speaks directly to Marlon's earpiece, telling him exactly what to say to Truman during the moments of doubt. Marlon repeats his lines. The point is, I'm sadly and gladly and would step in front of the traffic for you, and the last thing I'll ever do is lie to you. In the Esoteric Lounge, we must recognize what this is. It's a script of intimacy. The Archons use it for our deepest human needs. The need for friendship, the need for family, the need for love, to build the walls around our cell. Marlon isn't a friend, he's a frequency modulator. His job is to detect when Truman's gnosis, his internal knowing, is rising. And it's his job to dampen down with false emotion, a false emotion connection. Then we have his mother. The mother represents the traditional narrative. She is the one that shows Truman the photo albums, anchoring his identity to a past that never even happened. By constantly reminding Truman of his history and his responsibilities, she prevents him from living in the eternal now. She is the guardian of his linear time. The demiurge loves history because history is a series of events that you divine as a limited physical being. If you believe you are your history, you will never realize you are an infinite spirit. We must now look at the specific mechanism used to ground Truman's soul whenever it begins to float towards the truth. We call this archonic liturgy of the product. To understand this, we have to understand the word liturgy. Liturgy. It comes from the Greek letogura, which literally translates the work of the people. In the ancient world, it was a public duty, a service to perform to keep the state functioning. In religious texts, it was the formal repetitive script of a ritual. It is the work of maintaining a spiritual connection through ceremony. But in Sea Haven, the work being performed by the people around Truman is not a work of liberation. It is a work of binding. Watch Meryl, Truman's wife. She is like a high priestess of this maternal liturgy. Every time Truman begins to vibrate with gnosis, every time he begins to question the horizon or notice the cracks in the reality, Meryl interrupts the flow of his awakening with a ritual object. She holds up a jar of cocoa or a kitchen tool and begins to recite its virtues to an empty room. Now you see the primary anchor, Meryl. If the travel agent is the wall, then Meryl is the glue. Meryl's entire existence is to study material density. We identify her as the princess, but she is also the guardian of the biological script. When Meryl pressures Truman about making babies, she isn't expressing love. She is attempting to bind a soul bind. A child in Sea Haven would be the ultimate anchor. It would be the one product Truman couldn't walk away from. By using a biological drive of fatherhood, the demiurge, through his wife Meryl, tries to lock up Truman into a multi-generational loop. She wants to run the Truman into a family man, because a man with a family is a man who is too afraid to sail into a storm. Meryl is the master of emotional gaslighting. Whenever Truman speaks of his gnosis, his internal knowledge of things are wrong. She treats him as a medical condition. She offers him a drink or a snack, literally trying to dampen down his spirit with calories. She's trying to weight his soul so he sinks back down onto the sofa. Now, the Archons know that the soul is like a balloon. If you don't tether it to something heavy, it will eventually flow away. And we see the world for what it is from above. All these products is the weight. By forcing Truman to focus on all the natural ingredients and the utility of a blade, she is performing a rite of materialization. She is pulling his consciousness from a high astral plane and slamming it back down into the Mulkuth, the lowest density point of the physical kingdom. Right. Before Truman can even reach this aqueous veil, he must first confront the bureaucratic Archon. When Truman enters the travel agency, he is entering a liminal space, a transition zone where the matrix is the most vulnerable. Notice the aesthetics of the travel agent. She's stiff, robotic, and clearly unrendered for this specific task. Because, you see, in Sea Haven, no one's supposed to ever leave. The travel agency is a kind of vestal organ of the simulation. It only exists to provide the illusion of choice. But when Truman asks for a ticket, she doesn't even check the computer. She checks the scripts. Her delay and her fully booked excuse are not logistical. They are her vibrational blocks. She is the physical manifestation of the road closed sign. We call her a gatekeeper of the horizon, stopping you from going where you want to go. Her job is to make the world outside seem more inaccessible or impossible, forcing Truman to retreat back into the familiar comfort of his routine. When Truman's suspicion reaches a fever pitch, he storms the hospital. In the Esoteric Lounge, we recognize this as the invasion of the healing temple. In the material world, we are taught to trust the white coat as ultimately authority on life or death. But when Truman pushes through the doors, he finds the medicine of the Matrix. Look at the surgery he witnesses. The doctors aren't operating, they're just posing. They're holding instruments they don't know how to hold or use. This is the theatrical silence, the simulation. Experts in the doctor playing a role of healers to keep the Truman convinced that he's in a physical vessel and under their control. When they realize Truman is watching, they don't finish the surgery, they panic. They wheel the patient away like a broken prop. This proves that Sea Haven is a sickness in a script. The Archons use the health scares, the medical authorities, to keep the soul from fighting fragile. If you're afraid of dying, you will listen to the man in the white coat. But Truman sees the seam in the sleeve. He sees that God's medicine are just men who forget their lines. As Truman is ushered out of the hospital, he notices how the environment reacts. Security guards don't use violence. They use physical redirection. They guide him towards the exit through the gift shop. In the Esoteric Lounge, decoding the gift shop as a constellation prize of the Matrix. Whenever you witness a glitch or a deep truth that scares the system, the Archons will immediately offer you a treat. It's a distraction, a souvenir, a little snack or a trinket. Of sensory bribery. They want you to trade your discovery for a product. Truman's refusal to be calmed down by the hospitality of the hospital is a key moment. He is no longer entertained. He is no longer held in between. He has looked past the
You're fading in and out a bit, Sniper. Yep, you're frozen. There we go. Wait, froze up again. Still freezing. It's spotty. Coming in and fading out. I think Sniper's gonna try again, guys. There we go.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
So far, things seem good.
Good.
Yep.
Right. Where were we? We were identifying the geography of the cage. To the uninitiated eye, Sea Haven is the idyllic coastal town. But in the language of the mystery school, Sea Haven is a hypercube. It's a space designed to limit the movement of a spirit by perfectly comforting the body. Look at the shape of Truman's world. It's an island. But more specifically, it was a dome. It was a closed system. The physical universe is described as a series of concentric spheres, like layers of an onion in the Gnostic's cosmology, that wrap around the soul to prevent us from seeing the fullness of the outside. Sea Haven is the physical manifestation of the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its own tail. Because Truman lives in a loop. He wakes up, says the same catchphrase, he buys the same paper, encounters the same people at the same time every single day. Why? Because the demiurge knows that repetition is the mother of hypnosis. You can keep a soul trapped in a cycle of predictable patterns. A soul will eventually stop asking why and start asking what's next, and trade its beings for becomings. We'll quickly decode Sea Haven, the name of it. It sounds like a sanctuary, a safe port. But when you break the words down, the sea is representing the primordial waters, the chaotic astral depths that the soul must navigate to reach enlightenment. A haven is a place where a ship stops moving. To be a sea haven is to have your spiritual voyage cancelled. It is a halt. It is a place where the true man is anchored to a fake reality, so he never braves the great deep. The town is built on the geometry of the square. Notice the houses in the streets, perfectly 90-degree angles, the idyllic life. While in esotericism, a square represents the material world, the four elements, the physical body. A circle represents the spirit. By keeping Truman in a town that is essentially a giant cube set, the archons are keeping his spirit squared and contained. But as we see in the film, Truman begins to move in diagonal lines. He drives around in circles, around a roundabout, to break the loop. He begins to act unpredictably. This is the first step of gnosis, breaking the rhythm, breaking pattern. The moment you stop following the street signs and start following the internal compass, the geometry of the cube begins to fall away. Truman realizes that the haven is actually a hedge, and the only way out is to sail into the very sea he was taught to fear. In the Esoteric Lounge, we understand that a prisoner who wants to leave is dangerous, but a prisoner who is afraid to leave is a permanent resident. This is the function of the sea. To the archons, the sea surrounding Sea Haven is not a body of water. It's a boundary of fear. The soul is often described as being afraid of the abyss, the vast unknown void that exists between our material world and our true divine. The demiurge plays out on this fear. He creates a traumatic event that ensures the soul never tests the limit of its container. Consider the death of Truman's father, Kirk. Now, Kirk is an Old Norse and Scottish word for church. Kirk dies in a storm at sea. The demiurge, Christoph, performs a masterstroke of psychological binding. He associates the sea, the path to his freedom, with death and the loss of his father. This creates a phobia of infinity every time Truman looks at water. His subconscious triggers the program of grief. This is how this matrix works. It operates exactly on the same. It uses your unhealed wounds to keep you wandering too close to the exit. But if you remember, later in the film, Kirk returns. But he returns as an actor in a yellow rain jacket. He appeared out of the mist like a ghost. This represents the institutionalized spirit. When Truman starts to wake up, the demiurge brings back the church to pacify him. He offers a fake reunion to stop the investigation. If the archons represent a script, then Sylvia represents the intuition. In Gnostic myth, Sophia is the divine aspect of the feminine who fell into the material world. But she was also the one that provided the call to humanity. She is the divine spark that remembers the fullness. In the film, Sylvia is the only character who refuses to follow the script. She is the Lauren who reveals she is actually Sylvia. This is the vital part of her name. Sylvia comes from silver, meaning forest or the wild. She represents the untamed, unsimulated reality that exists outside the manicured lawns of Sea Haven. Their brief encounter in the library is a classic Gnostic initiation. A library is a place of knowledge, gnosis. If you notice, they are surrounded by books, stored wisdom, but the Archons are desperately trying to keep them apart. When Sylvia looks into Truman's eyes on the beach and tells him, "Everyone knows everything you do. This isn't real." She is acting as the messenger of light. She isn't giving him a belief system. She is giving him a frequency. She leaves him with a red sweater, a thread of adrena. This is his way to find his way out of the labyrinth. Sylvia is the most dangerous element in Christoph's world because she represents memory. In Gnosticism, the greatest tragedy is the soul of amnesia, for forgetting our divine origin. When Sylvia looks at Truman, she isn't acting. She is the only person in his life who provides unfiltered gnosis. While Sea Haven is drenched in artificial pastels and blue safes, Sylvia associates herself with red, the red frequency of the root, the blood, and the raw life force. It's the fire that the demiurge tries to extinguish with his water. The shrine Truman builds is a masterpiece of esoteric symbolism. He takes the eyes from one fashion model, and a nose from another, and the lips from a third, trying to reconstruct Sylvia's face. This is the reconstruction of our logos. In our world, truth is a fragment. We find a piece of truth in a book, another in a sunset, another in a tragedy. But just like Truman, we are collaging the divine. We are remembering the face of the wisdom, the flawed materials of the material world. It's a closed-loop system, Lawn Dog. I'll explain that soon. Did you want a break? You're on mute, but yeah, you're wagging your...
This gift from Dolly.
That's fantastic. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Really awesome.
Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. It's all good. In the lounge, we must recognize that the most difficult chains to break are not those made of iron, but of false loyalty. The system uses your friends and the family to gaslight you. When Marlon says the last thing I'd ever do is lie to you, whilst being fed the exact lines through his earpiece, he was representing the betrayal of the Logos. Truman's mother is the guardian of linear time. She constantly steers him towards the photo album. It's a lineage to a soul trap. If you believe you are a mere product of your parents, a link in your biological chain, you will never realize you are an uncreated spirit. The mother's role is just to keep Truman's identity small. She uses nostalgia as a sedative. She focuses on his childhood and his responsibilities. When Truman realizes he's being tracked, he doesn't just drive, he loops. He enters a roundabout and refuses to exit. In the language of the East, he is challenging the samsara, the wheel of birth, the wheel of death, and the rebirth that keeps the soul trapped in a repetitive cycle of suffering. Most people in the Matrix spend their entire lives on this roundabout. They follow the flow of traffic. They take the expected exits, careers, marriage, retirement, and they never question the circular nation of their existence. Truman does the insane thing. He stays on the wheel until the wheels break. He performs a frequency interrupter. By driving in circles, he forces the traffic script of Sea Haven to collapse. You notice all the Archons react. The background NPCs, they're not programmed for a Truman who refuses to move forward. The simulation begins to stutter. A bus appears out of nowhere. Cars stall. A crowd of pedestrians manifest on the corner. They've already passed 3 times. This is the rendering engine, failing to keep up with the soul that has stopped following the map. By breaking the loop of the roundabout, Truman is attempting to move from the circumference of the circle to the center. The center of the circle is the point of stillness, the I am consciousness. Once Truman finds that stillness, he can choose any direction he wants, regardless of the road closed signs. He eventually breaks the circle and heads for the bridge. This is the transition from the circular time, the repetition, to the linear ascent, the escape. The Archons instantly respond with illusionary obstacles, the forest fires, the nuclear leak. In the lounge, we recognize these fear gradients. They are the special effects for the mind. If the demiurge can make a road look like hell, he hopes the soul will turn back to heaven, the roundabout. Truman doesn't realize, but he does. He realizes that the fire doesn't burn, and that the radiation doesn't kill, and that these light and shadow projections are the soul voids. When he drives through the fire, he's performing the baptism of fire ritual. He's proving that a spirit with a firm intent is denser than the illusions of the material world. He is no longer a passenger in the demiurge's car. He is the driver of his own destiny. When Truman breaks the loop of the roundabout and heads straight for the bridge, it can no longer rely on subtle scripts. In ancient myths, the entrance to the underworld or the heavenly realm is often guarded by monsters and fire. Christoph, the director, is acting out this demiurge, creating these disasters to trigger Truman's primal survival instincts. The forest fire, the wrath of God, the fire of the elements of transformation, the nuclear leak. This is the most modern trick. A nuclear leak is an invisible, silent killer. It represents the unseen threats the system uses to keep us indoors. Don't go out there, the air is toxic. Don't go there, the invisible rays will get you. By claiming there's a nuclear leak, the Archons are trying to weaponize his own imagination. But Truman eventually reaches the bridge. The bridge is the liminal path. It belongs to neither the shore he left nor the destination he seeks. Notice how the Archons attempt to block the bridge with just a police barricade. These aren't just officers, they are the magistrates of the Matrix. They don't have any authority to stop a sovereign spirit, so they use the illusion of law. When Truman realizes they know his name, despite never even meeting him, the police transition from the protectors to the program obstacles. The most vital moment is when Truman leaves the car, which is emphasized that the car, the macabre, was necessary for the samsara loop, but it cannot finish the final threshold. To reach the sea, Truman must walk. He must move from the mechanical to the biological and then the spiritual. When he runs into the woods and disappears from camera, he has entered the blackout zone. In the lounge, we call this the dark room of the soul. This is the only place where the demiurge cannot see him, because Truman is no longer moving according to the script. He has become unrendered. We must also decode the Sirius light, the light that falls from the sky. In ancient Egypt and mysterious schools of traditions, Sirius is the dog star associated with Isis and the initiation of the soul. When the light labelled Sirius falls at Truman's feet, it is a puncture of the firmament. The demiurge's sky is literally breaking. In the Foundation, we refer to as a catalyzing anomaly. Truth often enters our lives not as a peaceful realization, but normally as a glitch. Truman doesn't ignore it, he investigates it. This is the difference between a true man and a viewer. Even minor characters like the twins, who constantly push Truman against the poster on the brick wall, have an esoteric function. They are the guardians of the threshold. They represent the pressure of the collective. Every time Truman tries to move with purpose, the collective bumps into him, redirecting his momentum back to the center of town. Understanding the most effective cage is the one that speaks to the subconsciousness. If the Archons, the guards, the background environment is the psychological barbed wire. You can only have to look at the posters and signs scattered through Sea Havens They're not just background dressing, they're sigils of reinforcement. When you notice a scene when Truman tries to board a bus to leave, the driver, another Archon, is grinding the gears, pretending the bus is broken. But look at the destination sign. It says Chicago. In a language of symbols, Chicago is often associated with the windy city, the movement of spirit. But when you look at Truman's reactions, he's surrounded by people who are just staring at him, waiting for him to fail. This is the pressure of the collective consciousness. The simulation used the stare of the NPCs to make Truman feel insane. Truman's newspaper, the Daily Island Times, the only headline of the day as he wakes up. Sea Haven voted the best place on Earth. This is the feedback loop for the ego. The system tells you you're already in the best possible place, so you don't have to stop looking for another better place. It's a closed loop information system. In the lounge, we understand that no prison is perfect. Because the demiurge is a flawed craftsman, his creation is riddled with glitches. The very first event of the film is the falling of the light studio, as we discussed Sirius. When Truman picks up the light, he is touching the gears of the universe. The Archons immediately scramble over to recover it with a radio report. This is a media gaslighting. Whenever you see something that defies the law of the Matrix, the system will immediately prove and provide a scientific and logical explanation to put you back in sleep. One of the most profound realizations for Truman is when he notices the rhythm of the crowd. In here we call this scripted frequency. Most people moving through life thinking their encounters are random. But you will sit there long enough, you will see that the world around you is moving in a loop. When Truman starts to time each person, he is performing a Chronos break. He must look deeper into the return of Truman's father. It's a glitch when he's seen on the film set again. The producers try to turn it into a storyline. This represents the recycling of archetypes. The demiurge doesn't create anything new. He only recycles what's worked before. If Truman is grieving, give him back his father. The system reacts. It monitors your internal state and you adjust to the script. And it's just to keep you emotionally occupied. Truman's house is in a cul-de-sac. In Latin, it means bottom of the bag. It's a street that leads to nowhere. This is the ultimate metaphor for the samsara. The demiurge wanted you to live in a dead-end street, so that every journey you take ends exactly where you began. When Truman hears the radio, he realizes that his private thoughts are actually a public broadcast. This is a moment of radical disidentification. He stops being the character and starts to become an observer. When the radio bleeds over, Truman is hearing the language of the archons. This is a vibrational leak. It proves that the solid world of Sea Haven is actually being spoken into existence by a team of technicians. The lounge we recognize this as a collapse of the wave function. Once Truman breaks the loop of the street grid, the geometry of the cube can no longer contain its frequency. The rigid angles of the Sea Haven begin to dissolve into the aqueous veil. To the archons, the sea is a dead zone, a boundary of unrendered chaos designed to trigger a phobia of the infinite. But for Truman, the water is the universal solvent. It's the only place in the simulation where the script has no ground to stand on. By stepping onto the Santa Maria, Truman isn't just traveling. He is transcending from the density of the material kingdom into the fluidity of the astral abyss. He has realized that to find the doors, he must first abandon the floors. We must not treat the sea as a body of water. As I said, the aqueous veil, the final boundary between the simulation and the source. We have decoded the warden in his moon, the lurgity of the products, and now we stand with Truman at the edge of the world. He has done the unthinkable. He has overcome his trauma bonds. We recognize that the sea is an ultimate obstacle because if it represents the fluidity of the unconsciousness. The land is solid, it's predictable, it's square. But the sea is shifting, it's deep, it's chaotic. For Truman to step onto that boat, he must first perform the act of internal alchemy. He must transform his fear into a vessel. He steals the boat to Santa Maria. On an esoteric level, it's the Holy Mary, the Stella Maria, or the Star of the Sea. The feminine vessel represents the soul's capacity to hold the divine spirit whilst navigating the waters of chaos. As the Santa Maria moves further from the shore, the lunar control room goes into a state of panic. Christoph manifests a cataclysm. Turn on the wind, hit him with the localized storm. In the lounge, we call this the threshold resistance. When a human begins to make a genuine move towards a spiritual sovereignty, the Matrix doesn't just watch, it reacts. It'll throw a storm at you. The storm in the frequency, the storm in the Truman Show, is a frequency war. Christoph is trying to lower Truman's frequency back into survival mode. But Truman ties himself to the mast. This is a direct reference to the myth of Odyssey. Truman ties himself to the mast to survive the demiurge's wrath without being lured back into the safety of the shore. He is saying, I would rather die in the truth than live in a lie. This is the exact moment the slave becomes the master, the moment that shatters every law of physics in Sea Haven. The storm clears, the water becomes still. Truman sees the horizon, a beautiful painted line of blue. He reaches out, and the bow of his boat pierces the sky. This is the ultimate agnostic revelation, the infinity of the wall. The sky is a prop, the hard boundary of the matrix. Imagine the psychological impact. Every prayer he'd ever sent to the sky was bouncing off a wall. This is a night of the soul, the dark night of the soul. When Truman catches the world unrendered, he isn't just seeing a mistake. He's seeing the skeleton of the universe, the ladder, the stairways representing ascension to the soul through different planes of existence. In Sea Haven, the elevator is a mechanical version of this ladder. It is supposed to maintain the illusion of a multi-layered society. When Truman prevents the elevator doors from closing properly, he doesn't see another door. He sees a backstage lounge. He sees actors sitting on folded chairs eating snacks. This is the lower heavens. They're not populated by gods, but just administrators. When Truman looks into the back of the elevator, he is seeing the Archons on their tea break. He realizes that the managers of the world are just ordinary people who are clocked in. This shatters the archetype of authority. The levels of the elevator are just an illusion created by a motor and lights. This is known in video terms as culling, to save processing power. The simulation only renders the parts of the world that a player is currently looking at. Everything Truman thought that was a service, the police, the doctors, is revealing to be an industry. This glitch turns his world from a living community into a mechanical construction. He can no longer take his serious social roles. For 30 years, Truman's response is the most powerful mantra. The demiurge tries to convince the soul. He finds the staircase, the Jacob's ladder of the soundstage. In every mystery school, the soul must ascend a ladder to leave the lower realms. Truman climbs these white stairs, moving vertically out of the square towards the exit. But before he can leave, he must face the voice from the whirlwind. Christoph's voice booms from the heavens, from the Lunar control room. He doesn't threaten Truman. He tries to rebind him through the ego. I am the creator. of a television show that gives hope for millions and gives them joy. This is the ultimate archonic trap. The trap of false purpose. Christoph is telling Truman that his suffering was necessary. He offers Truman the safety of the dome versus the terror of the real world. This is the final gaslighting. He tries to convince the soul that the prison is actually a sanctuary. He plays on the soul's deepest insecurities, the fears that are just not enough to face the infinite. But Truman's response is the most powerful mantra in the film. He doesn't argue. He doesn't scream. He simply delivers his catchphrase. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. There you go.
Awesome, Sniper.
Thank you very much.
Sounded like you enjoyed that one too, quite a bit.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. So I suggest if no one's doing anything, I would get the film out, have a quick flick through, and you will see yourself playing out in many parts of that film. It's quite revealing.
You got a round of applause from Kat and Jack, and she said that was
Thank you,
good,
Kat.
Sniper.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Is another thing.
This guy said, awesome.
I,
Hey, what's
I,
up?
I believe Jim Carrey is very spiritual.
He's a devotee of Eckhart Tolle quite a bit.
Now he's let out a lot of cats out the bags on many chat shows, and the comedy is what keeps him alive. It keeps him alive because he ridicules himself, and someone that can ridicule himself can't be ridiculed.
Shirley asked if I could post a link to the film. I can put it in the description. I can't put it in the chat because it would only lead it back to here.
Yeah. Well, just type in the Truman Show. I'm sure you'll be able to watch it for free on YouTube, even if it's got adverts in it. I think it's still about. That's not a problem, Josh. The Truman Show, indeed.
There's a lot of movies these days you can watch all the way through in clips, you know?
They do them in like 10-minute sections.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed that.
I did.
Yeah.
Once again, I appreciate you being flexible with your schedule.
No, absolutely. That's absolutely fine. I think I finished at the right time.
Kat says it's a great movie. I think in the top two of Jim Carrey's movies, Truman Show.
I did like Liar Liar as well. I thought that was very good. He was in the court.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is not only my favorite Jim Carrey movie, but one of my all-time favorite movies.
Well, we've got the top three then.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of his earlier stuff, the two animated ones, it goes over my head. You know, The Mask and
Right.
those kind of things. But yeah, when he plays a serious role, with comedy. He's just an incredible actor. There is an actual ritual called the ritual of the mask, and for actors, whenever you put this metaphorical mask on, you become the entity that the persona that you're trying to portray. And putting a mask on also eliminates you at that moment in time from the collective, and others see you
Amazing.
as separate as the collective.
Amazing how a mask can be at once freeing and imprisoning, depending on how you approach it.
Yep. Yep.
These guys' favorite Jim Carrey movie is The Mask.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. I can watch things once, but it's not. Once I've seen it, I've seen it now. It's one of those ones. But the esoteric films, I pick out, and yeah, they stand out.
Right.
There's quite a few of them. I should really do a top 20 of films which are very much like this, that have that same all the way through it, the holistical, Gnostic. Blade Runner is another one.
Originally was a Philip K. Dick book, who's a
Yes.
very,
Yeah.
very esoteric writer.
Yeah.
Um, once a month, movie night, dissect a movie.
Yeah. That sounds good. Yeah. There we go. Every fourth we'll do a movie.
Yeah, Blade Runner would be a really good one. I know you'd
Yeah.
love to do the Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars is on a different level because there's so many of them, but we could do really a general of the first three, the original first three. Yeah, we could do a collaboration of the first three. That'll be an interesting one. Yeah. I'll pop back in the chat and say hello to everyone, and you can say goodbyes.
Yeah, we're going to wrap things up in just a minute. Thank you,
mate.
Sniper. And the Esoteric Lounge has closed the door. Esoteric, as I mentioned before, I'm the host, but it's Sniper's show on the Esoteric Lounge. Hey, Mr. Osgood, how are you? This is when I get to kick back and be a listener. Sniper says, thanks 3 years. Absolutely. He says, Adam, that is so weird. 2 minutes ago, I was thinking about Isaac. Did he do something with Harrison Ford? Mr. Osgood said, great. How about you? I'm doing good, my friend. What's to say, Mr. Osgood, good to see you. So, did you guys see I was waving it around earlier. My pen from Dolly. And my keychain from Dolly. Pretty awesome stuff, huh? Let's see. What's it says? Mr. Osgood is a personal friend of mine. Awesome. She says her crafts are magic. Agreed. Chris and Dolly, just awesome things. Adam wants to know, Sniper Adam wants to know how long it took. to organize that presentation? Good question. I'm trying to think of movies for Sniper to dissect. What do you think of the original Planet of the Apes movies? Soylent Green. That would be interesting. Adam says, damn, man, that was good. It made my brain hurt. Wow, 3 hours. I can understand that. It was definitely detailed. Sniper says, thanks, Jess, and the wings. All right, guys, so it's going to be bedtime for me. Also says, even though he didn't support my candidacy for sainthood, Saint of Rock, I was up for, and not music. Huh, he didn't support you? So guys, we're gonna wrap things up. I hope you come by and hang out with me and my guests tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Mark Anthony Lord, LORD. He's a modern mystic, a minister, a spiritual teacher, intuitive guide, devoted teacher of A Course in Miracles. He's known for his grounded wisdom, catalytic prayer, ability to make God real, relevant, and radically transformational. His work awakens people to the deepest truth of who they are, God's beloved, whole and holy. Whether teaching, coaching, or holding space for healing, Mark's mission rests in one unwavering truth. When you heal your relationship with God, everything changes. I was talking about that earlier, guys. Our one problem, our only problem. That one problem manifests in infinite problems in the world, but it all stems down to one: feeling that we are alone in a vast, unrelentingly unfriendly universe, feeling separate from God, feeling separate from each other. None of that is true, but we don't believe it yet. So let's talk to Mark and see how we can believe it. How can we heal that one relationship that changes everything? With that, come on by, hang out, ask some questions. Adam says, question, what is Truman got to the door at the dome and knocked and no one answered? Who came to the door besides his girlfriend? Oh, awesome, Sniper. Sniper says we'll put a post up so you can give him some movie suggestions. Truman bows to the audience, says his catchphrase one last time, and steps through the door into the pitch black exit of the studio. The film cuts to real world viewers who briefly celebrate. Good question, if I met. All right, guys. So, like I said, please come by, hang out with us tomorrow. I don't think we have anything going on for the weekend. I don't think. I got some guests lined up for next week. We have the man. Speaking of esoteric, we have a guest who's written several books on the Gospel of St. Thomas, as well as the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. This is going to be big stuff for Sniper. Oh, wow, the Fisher King. I love the Fisher King. That might be one of my favorite Robin Williams movies. And of course, it had Jeff Bridges, who I absolutely love. Great suggestion, Shirley. All right, I'm going to bed. Thank you, guys. I will see you in the morning, 5 a.m. Love you all.